Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Design Solutions for the New Normal. I am Architect Lyka Mangubat, and with me is
Esquivel, who will host today's webinar. But before we begin, let us have Architect Naca to lead the opening prayer and the National Anthem.
Let us put ourselves in the loving presence of God. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Glorious and blessed God, we place our work and ourselves into your hands. Anoint our creativity, our ideas, our energy, so that even the smallest task may bring you honor. God, when we are challenged, guide us. When we are weary, energize us. May the work that we do and the way that we do it bring hope, life, and courage to all with whom we minister within the organization. Bless our administration with wisdom and discernment, our employees with commitment and compassion, our fellow architects and their families with courage and strength. Rooted in your love, may your face illuminate all activities done in your name. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Before we get started, we would like to go over a few items so you'll know how to participate in today's event.
You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of every speaker's presentation.
Thank you, Dan. I would now like to introduce our first speaker for today, and she is Architect Mary Rose Doronio, one of the architects in the Design Lense Architectural Studio, to present to us her topic, Understanding the Relationship of Spaces.
Hello, good morning. I hope everyone is doing fine. As mentioned, I'm Architect Doronio, and I will be presenting Understanding Relationship of Spaces. Since this event is about design solutions for new normal, it is very important that we talk about how we understand spaces and their relationship to one another. How are these spaces affects us, especially in this pandemic? In this talk, I would like us to focus more on residential spaces. So before I start my talk, I would like to request everyone to look around where they are now. Of course, because this event is held online, I know that we are currently in different places. So I am guessing you are in your house, particularly in your working area, or you're in the living room, or maybe in the dining room, or maybe you set up the vacant space in your house and converted it to a place where you can work, attend meetings, or attend online event like this one. What do you consider in picking a space, which where you are right now for this event? Because it is quiet than other parts of the house? Maybe the ambience is nice that it makes you productive and not distracted? Or maybe there is no reason at all, because there is no space to pick to if you're living in a small house. But wherever you are right now, it is because you understand that you need a place to be attentive for this event. We have been talking about spaces, but what are these? Nope, not that space. Definitely not this one. This one. A space is occupied by a person or a thing. We classify spaces by identifying its user, usage or functionality, and its location. We often group it as public, private, and service spaces. In a residential setting, public or active spaces compose of living and dining area. These spaces are occupied by a person or a family living in the house and a guest or visitors. While bedroom is an example of a private space, in which it is only occupied by a person living in the house. Service spaces such as kitchen and carport is used to serve people in the house. Why is it important for us to understand these, and why do we have to classify space based on its user, usage or functionality and location? It is because we have to set boundaries. We have to separate spaces because their functionalities differ from each other. Though we group the spaces, we know that they are still connected to one another. Let's take the working area we discussed earlier as our example. I know not everyone have a place for it, but now that we have to continue our lives, studying and working online, we find and make one as our working area. People may work wherever they want since we are at home. May it be in bedroom, living room, or dining area. But there is a study that says it is insufficient to work in bedroom. They stated 3 reasons why, such as there is a mental association wherein if you're working from bed, it can become more difficult to fall asleep since your brain will think that you're in a place of work. Since you're in your bedroom and working area at the same time, you will feel that you are always at work, and this decreases the quality of your sleep thinking about work wherever you go to sleep. So usage or functionality and location wise, it is not that great. So how about in a living or dining area? Remember that we have a group of spaces. Living and dining area are public and active spaces that is occupied by a people living in the house and even visitors. This means that noise are prominent in these areas, which we can be distracted to. User, usage, and functionality and location-wise, it is not that great. So where can we set up a space to work? If you have a vacant room or space in your house or a hallway where you can be distracted, it can be a best place. But like I said earlier, not everyone have these. People can convert their spaces into something that will be a benefit to them. Rearrange space and make new ones to adapt to their new way of living. We have been quarantined inside of our houses for months, living in the comfort of our spaces. We might even take the advice of our President Rodrigo Duterte na umikot muna sa bahay at baka may hindi pa napupuntahan. Maybe we discover some spaces that are wasted because of the furniture layout. We can arrange these spaces and maximize it to accommodate our needs for the moment or for the new normal. Maybe we're aware or we're not that we can create new spaces to adapt. Aside from a space that we dedicate as our working area, we also turn our porch or a space in front of our house as our sanitation area, where people or things were sanitized before they get to enter the house. See that these spaces are related to other parts of the house, but we separate them to set boundaries for us to be safe. Our spaces are flexible. I think there is room for everything, especially for our needs. We just have to weigh what is important and what suits our way of living for this new normal. I know most of the attendees today are architects, architecture students, and designer in general. We understand spaces and its relationship to one another, not just because we designed them. But for us to really understand it, we have to think as both designer and the user of a space. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Doronio, for that insightful presentation. We are now going to take questions. As a reminder, you can still submit your questions through the question pane in your attendee control panel. Our first question is,
Architect, you've said that in order for us to adapt to new normal, we have to create new spaces. But how about the people that live in just small space? So small that they sleep, lunch and eat in one place only.
Like I've said earlier, not all people have this kind of opportunity. And that's the sad reality. The real problem is poverty and poor planning in our country. We can't blame people if they're living in a small house or if they're limited to spaces. I know that they are trying and striving for better, but if they won't get any help, it will be really hard. The only solution that I can give is to rearrange furniture layout like what I've said earlier, weigh what is really important and maximize the space. I really hope that our country solve the poverty and have a better planning. I hope that I answer your question. Thank you.
So we have another and last question for Architect Doronio, and the question is, in a bigger picture, how are people affected by these spaces?
Okay, people are affected by these spaces, especially if they are adjacent or located at the wrong place. Like in our example, working area located in public or active spaces may affect the attention or concentration of a person working. That is also applied to spaces such as bedroom is separated to living or dining to provide privacy. Kitchen is related to dining for accessibility of a person working in the kitchen, and others. That is why it is very important that we consider usage or functionality and its location when we are designing them or these spaces. Thank you.
the Design Lense Architectural Studio would like to present the Certificate of Appreciation for our speaker, Architect Mary Rose Doronio, with her topic, Understanding the Relationship of Spaces, given this 12th day of November 2020.
Before we call on our next speaker, we will have a short icebreaker for everyone in this webinar.
I have always felt if you know what you're going to do in advance, then you won't do it. Your creativity starts with whether you're curious or not. Roll 'em. Go. Action. When you build a building, any building, start with the simple block model to see where that goes. Most of our cities are built with just faceless glass, only for economies and not for humanities. As an artist, I got constraints. Gravity is one of them. But within all those constraints, I have 15% of freedom to make my art. I'm always trying to express movement. I was fascinated with the fold, so basic to our first feelings of love and warmth. These ideas are scary as hell to tell to the client. They can reject you, and they will, but you gotta find your own voice. Create the logic for it as you go. Stretch it into another place. I'm just telling you how I did it and why I did it. Whatever you do, promise me that every project you make or design, you'll take the risk of doing something for humanity. I'm Frank Gehry, and this is my masterclass. You would think I'd know when to quit.
Thank you, Aldrine, for that short but engaging icebreaker. So, our second presenter for this morning is a senior architect of Batao Design Solutions, and he is architect Mark Jerwin Batao to present to us his topic, Design Innovations for the New Normal.
Thank you, Ms. Lyka, for introducing me again. I'm architect Mark Jerwin Batao from Batao Design Solution. So, we will start the discussion about this design innovation for the new normal. So, architecture is not only one of the oldest, but also one of the most disciplinary, knowledge-intensive scientific field. Thus, when we discuss a good architectural design, we shall focus on the grand picture of spatial design, which is concerned with interior and exterior forms together with communication design. There's a question is, what is an architectural innovation? Architectural innovation is simply taking the lesson, skills, and overall technology and applying them with the design. This innovation is amazing at increasing new customers as long as the new design is receptive. Most of the time, the risks involved in architectural design is low due to the reliance and reintroduction of proven technology, though most of the time it requires tweaking too much of the requirements of the new design. So what is good architectural design? Good architectural design is planning, designing, and devising buildings that are more functional, aesthetical, and durable. Good architectural design is preparing clear instruction for constructing the building as planned. Good architectural design is tend to be identified as timeless artifacts, durable and reliable by the population, and they shall be equally easier to maintain. There is another question, where will innovation in architecture come from next? As an architect, we have designed and built projects using the non-conventional materials borrowed from the automotive and aerospace industries like fiberglass reinforced, plastic, mass timber, and other cutting-edge materials. There is a gap between the skill set inculcated in architecture schools do not line up with those needed for practice, and little to nothing is taught about the multifaceted process of building. The end result is that the industry fails to understand innovation even when it happens to produce it. To this state of affairs, there's a proposed and analytical framework for locating opportunities for materials innovation at different points of design-build process. Number 1 is architectural purpose or ambition. Number 2 is the AEC process, and number 3, the life cycle perspective. These three cornerstones, the future architectural innovation will come. To better grasp how this method operates in practice, it is worth discussing each cornerstone in greater depth. So the first cornerstone is the architectural ambition. Architectural ambition establishes the importance of clear declaration of architectural ambition and scope. This is a vital step because it acknowledges the incredible diversity of purpose and goals, all valid in their own way, inherent to any design endeavor. Architect may work on grand churches, civic buildings, commercial buildings, multifamily housing, retail, interior fit-outs, or temporary disaster relief shelters. all these project types do vastly different things and demand vastly different criteria for judging their success. The second cornerstone is the AEC process, or we call the Architectural Engineering and Construction process. We might parse it into the following three phases: feasibility, design and engineering, and construction. In the feasibility phase, the interested parties determine the viability of a particular building, which generally involve the assessing of ability of land, the applicable zoning and building codes, and the financial and economic implication of construction. Design and engineering is the phase where we first encounter the architecture, loosely defined as developing a design, selecting the materials, engineering the building system, and drafting the drawings. And lastly, the construction of documents for bid. The fulfillment of these construction documents forms the last phase. The last cornerstone is the life cycle assessment. The concern of it is the sustainability movement have brought many additional considerations to the fore of architecture. But one of the lasting may be a heightened awareness of the impact of building beyond its design lifespan. This means the studying of the effects of the chosen materials procurement, building operation, maintenance, resiliency, and the end-of-life processes. In summary, these impacts can be divided in three basic lifespan: the embodied, operational, and the end-of-life. So we are in the third part, which is the example of the design innovation for the new normal, which I researched from different architects. So first is the 3D printed door openers by Hewlett-Packard, a 3D printable hand-free door opener by Materialize and Hewlett-Packard's personal door opener. So next is the tiny greenhouses in Amsterdam, a Mediatic Eten or ETEN, a restaurant in Amsterdam situated tiny houses along the waterfront where guests can dine while remaining separated. Next is a barrier screen by Versailles or Versailles. A barrier screen designed by Versailles can be placed on counters in public spaces to protect against the virus. Next is social distancing circle in Domino Park, Brooklyn. Domino Park, Brooklyn in Williamsburg, Brooklyn now features bright white social distancing circle for visitors to sit while inside the park. Next is modular hospital rooms by Jupe Health. Jupe Health's modular hospital rooms collapse and can be flat pack for easily transport. The Jupe Care modular room designed by non-critical COVID-19 patient accommodates a sleeping or rest area, a bathroom or space for hospital-ready hookups and equipment. Next is a smart 5G patrol robot by Guangzhou Gusanch Robot Corporation. Using Advantech technology, 5G patrol robots developed by Guangzhou Gusanch Robot Corporation monitor mask wearing and body temperatures in public spaces in China. Last is the snorkeling mask turn emergency ventilator by Zinova. A snorkeling mask convert to an emergency ventilator using 3D printed parts developed by Zinova, an Italian engineering company. So these are some example of design innovation from different countries that can help us in the new normal. So this is the last part of our discussion, which is the importance of the design innovation. So population growth and the use of resources for construction will be increasingly crucial issues for the building industry. The forecasts presented by Architecture 2030 are clear, and in order to meet the demand for housing and sustainable buildings, we will need to build an incredible amount of square meters. In 2060, we will build more than twice what is currently existing in Earth. If we want to discover the answer of this emergency, the questions are: where will we find the resources to build new housing, and where will we find the energy to maintain it? In order to get back the basic of designing a sustainable building that responds climate, site, and the use of local materials, what we call a truly sustainable building, we need to expand the idea that architecture is not just an aesthetic activity, Rather, it's just more an integrated design process developed across various disciplines. In the future, the problem will be infinitely more difficult. Of course, young professionals must have technical tools, but they will also need the ability to go beyond today's limit and imagine beyond consolidated schemes. Only this attitude can cause a change and unexpected views. Young people are aware that they are the key players in this future and look to the school for the tools to deal with it with confidence and courage. So this is the end of our discussion. I hope you learned something from me that you can use on your studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Batao, for that wonderful presentation. We are now going to begin answering the questions submitted during the presentation. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions pane in your attendee control panel. Our first question is,
What could be the mindset and thinking for the new design innovation?
So thank you for that wonderful question. The answer for me is having a positive mindset is one of the best way, because design thinking is a very optimistic and positivist framework. Yeah, it always asks how might we, and its very nature is one of exploration, questioning, discovering, and understanding. Beyond the process, design thinking is a mindset. And in this uncertain and changing economy, politics, and social landscape, what we need to change is not what we do, but the thought of how we will change the world. Creativity and innovative thinking were considered as one of the most essential skill of future, and that is future now.
Last question for Architect Batao, we have, can you give some tips to inspire innovation?
There are only 6 tips that I can give you to inspire innovation. First is engage the community. Assemble a plan for how to use it, hire an architect who would obtain the approval from the city, and then the project would get built. The second one is collaborate with an engineer. Together, architects and engineers can make ideas a reality by identifying new approaches, materials efficiencies, cost savings, and operational systems that allow buildings to perform as well or better than imagined. The third one is embrace technology. With the advent of powerful digital modeling tool, architects can now experiment more dramatically with form. And the fourth one is experiment with innovation and new materials. Innovation is at the heart of all success businesses. Invest time and intellect in innovation around how you practice and what you design. The fifth one is explore prefabrication and modular design. Working with modular and prefabrication design allow architects to simultaneously achieve beauty, sustainability, and cost effectiveness. And last is seize every opportunity to learn. Consider investing and engaging in research projects or whose result can be shared with staff, colleges, and peers. And that's all that can help you to inspire in your innovation.
Thank you again, Architect Batao and attendees who asked the questions. So, before this all ends, may we present this certificate of appreciation for our speaker, Architect Jerwin Batao, with his topic, Design Innovations for the New Normal, given this 12th day of November 2020. Thank you. There will be a short icebreaker before we proceed again to our next speaker. Let's have our third and final presenter for this morning. We have Architect Joms Refugio. He is the Managing Director of the Refugio Associates, to give us an information-rich presentation regarding his topic, Design Solutions for the New Normal.
Good day, everyone. I am Architect Joms Refugio from the EJ8 Builders, and I am here to discuss with you the design for the new normal. What are the things that we need to apply, the considerations that we need to to apply in our future designs, especially this new normal with regards to the COVID-19 or the pandemic virus. We architects and designers are experiencing different problems and challenges, especially right now, because we need to adjust our design, the spaces for our future design and buildings with regards to the pandemic. So, I will show you my current project, the 3-story dormitory that is located within the area of Veterans Memorial Medical Center. So, here's the location of the project and the site development plan. It is a 3-story dormitory for the health workers that needs to rejuvenate themselves from the stress of work. So, let's move with the design philosophy. So, especially this pandemic, we have to consider the form and the function, not only the form, because the form itself will be dead. So, it has to be with the function, especially for the users. They have to feel the nature of relaxation. So what are the new design considerations? Of course, the durability, the comfortability are the cliches considerations. But what are the things that we need to consider the most? This is the social distancing. We have to consider the social distancing between the users and the function. Here's the ground floor plan. As you can see, the dining area should be 30% of the total floor area, where I have to diminish the number of the people that will accommodate the dining area, because I put every room, I put kitchen and a dining room, a dining area where they can eat, because this dining area of the dormitory building is just for the employees that works here inside the dormitory, such as the admin workers, the security guards, the caretaker. As you can see, I have umbrellas with chairs within the garden, because the nurses, the doctors, or the health workers generally needs to rejuvenate from the stress of work. They have to feel relaxed. So the second floor plan, as you can see, I have rooms for 2, for 8, for 6, and for 4. While the third floor plan, I have VIP room that is exclusive for only one person, and they also have balcony. The roof plan, the elevations, the sections, and the typical room details. So what I am trying to say, or to inspire with you, especially to the young architects of the Philippines, let us not always put the form itself or the function itself. Let us put this together, because if you're going to put together the form and the function, then the rest will be better and best. Because we young architects are only focusing with the form, with the extravagant forms, but we forget the function of the building. We architects are not only dedicated to the aesthetic. We should be dedicated more with the function within the spaces, the area, the inside of the building. And you young architects, I want to tell you that this pandemic shouldn't put a hindrance or a barrier for us to show our creativity, to show our knowledge, to show our skills, to show what are the things that are in mind. Because this pandemic is just a challenge of to have risk, a challenge to be more creative, to be more imaginative, to be more skill, to have more skill, to have critical thinking. So I will show you the perspective, and the interior perspective and the exterior perspective. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Refugio. Your presentation is really in line with our current situation.
Once again, thank you for the talk, Architect Refugio, and to our attendees who participated. Before we end today's webinar, the Design Lense Architectural Studio would like to present this certificate of attendance to Architect Joms Refugio, who discussed the topic Design Solutions for the New Normal given this 12th day of November 2020. Thank you.
We would like to ask once again Architect Naca for the closing prayer.
Let us put ourselves in the loving presence of God. Thank you, Lord, for your presence with us this day. As we depart from this place now, we ask you to bless us throughout the remainder of the day and guide us safely home. Do not let the learning and conversations with gathering die, but instead, may they continue to ruminate within us and bear fruit in our ministries throughout the year until we find ourselves together again. We ask this in the name of Jesus and in the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you to all the speakers, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar, Design Solutions for the New Normal.
If you have any other questions, please contact Architect Lyka Mangubat and Architect Esquivel. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation, and we would appreciate it if you would complete that and provide your feedback.
You will also receive a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. On behalf of the Silence Architectural Studio and our presenters, thank you for joining us and have a great rest of your day.